Hey guys, this is the Acta Verba A100 with a Magnacut blade. I got this knife as a present yesterday evening, and I am as excited as could be to test Magnacut. I'm not a steel snob. I will still appreciate an ACR 13 MOV blade, a D2 blade. I like D2 folders. I think they're great. I think VG10 is a good steel, and to this day, I think that S30V. This is my first paramilitary too with S30V blade. I think this is a great knife, and that S30V is a good steel for a folder. So I'm not a steel snob, but I do enjoy testing steels. And I would have probably never bought myself a Magnacut folder at this point. Not a lot of variety there, kind of hard to find, and they are very expensive. And this one is no exception. Acta Verba has a few models. It's not a new company to me. I didn't have a folder from them, but I have been looking at their Z200 model. And last evening I got this knife, and when I saw the fact that it had a Magnacut blade, I mean, the knife is nice in itself. It's very lightweight, about 73 grams. That's more lightweight than the Benchmade 940. So it's cool. It has these GRN handle scales, practically FRN or GFN or whatever you want to call them, which makes it very light. And the action on this one, pretty good. You can see it's drop shutty, doesn't have side to side. However, it does feel kind of cheap for the price you get it. It does feel kind of cheap. Now, this is a Magnacut blade, and they are not that readily available, so you could argue for that. The model A100 comes in two steel blades, LMAX and Magnacut, and you're going to pay much more for the Magnacut than you are for the LMAX. But for testing purposes, I didn't pay anything for it. I got it as a present, so I'm very stoked. And I can't wait to sharpen this knife and start cutting with it. It's going to have to wait a bit because I'm still busy with my current EDC. However, I wanted to make this video, a first impression, first cuts video, because I think it's interesting. Now, price point on this is way up there. My opinion is that any folder that goes over 50 euros, $50, should have very good fit and finish. What you saw with the QSP Penguin. The knife is kind of weird. It's a blocky knife, but it doesn't have any round corners. Micarta handle scales, D2 blade, and it's sharpened well enough, but it's a good working knife and no sharp corners. This is not that. These GRN handle scales are left very, very sharp everywhere. You have the, I don't know what they call it, it's an axis lock, maybe it's a bar lock or whatever it is, and it works great. But if you're gonna close the knife, and I've noticed this last evening and today, just playing with the knife like this, you're gonna push the knife in your hand and these corners are sharp. For the money, I think they should put a bit more thought into it. I mean, the box it comes with, it's a nice cardboard box. I love their logo. I think it's really smart, A and V. And you have this nice tab here. You have a little card here that says assembled and inspected by. So two people actually worked on this knife and looked it over, and it sits very neatly in the box. And that is all nice. But were you to look for a premium knife, something in this range of a price, and you can find out the price with just a Google search. Buy this. If you know anything about knives, if you've ever held a 50 euro Civivi, this might be underwhelming. The steel, yeah, sure, maybe you want something in Magnacut, but the fit and finish on this knife, very, very underwhelming. Like I said, sharp corners everywhere. A lot of the issues that people complain with the Benchmade bug out first when it came out, you can find with this one. I mean, the scales are very flexible. The nested liners just come down to this screw right here, maybe up down here. They screw in here, you can see, and then it's just this GRN with a GRN backspacer. The pocket clip is very deep carry, and I like this. This is why I was looking at the Z200 model. It has a nice design, G10 handle scales, a liner lock, and it has a very deep carry pocket clip. And even if the scales are red, put them in a pair of jeans, slacks, you're not going to see the scales. Very nice deep carry pocket clip. The only problem with it is, if you want to switch sides, I'm not sure if you can do that very easily unless you disassemble the knife. So I don't care about switching sides, but maybe one of you guys is a lefty, because this kind of locking mechanism does make a knife very ambidextrous. Now the thumb stud is only on one side, and you can see this little dot here. If you charge it up with light or you're in the direct sunlight, it's gonna glow, which is cool. Looks cool. I don't need it, but it looks nice. However, the thumb stud is only on one side, so you're gonna have to move this to the other side. I have seen a few videos on it, and a lot of people complain kind of about the same issues, very sharp corners. Now, with FRN, GRN, GFN handle scales, you can round those out. You disassemble the knife, or you don't. You just take some sandpaper here and you just start smoothing out the corners. You can do that. Doesn't take that long. But some people complain that if you want to switch the thumb stud from one side to another, I actually heard two people mention in their videos that they stripped the screw very quickly. So just not even an effort, and it's stripped. That is a concern. I don't want to switch the thumb stud, I'm a righty, but since this knife has pretty good action, you could spidey flick it. I can't really do it that well with my left hand, but if I have the thumb stud here, I could do it with my right hand, much better. I don't intend to switch it, but it's something that you should maybe know. Sharp corners, here, here, here. The only sharp corners that you don't have is on the blade. I mean, very nicely rounded. You can also see the logo. I kind of like what they did here with the logo. It says Acta non Verba, and here you have the name of the knife, A100, Magnacut, Czech Republic. I don't mind a lot of writing. At the same time, they have such a cool logo. I mean, if they would have just had this logo, the ANV, Acta non Verba here, and maybe Magnacut here, and you know what the model is, it would have been fantastic because the logo is so nice. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. I personally don't care about this. Like I said, the blade is very well rounded. The spine here, you have this little swedge, reinforced tip, very, very thick, and very well rounded off edge. I mean, they did round off the edge quite well. The first thing that I do when I pick out a knife, when I pick it up, I look at it and said, wow, it feels light in hand. Because of the GRN handle scales, it does feel a bit cheap in hand, but doesn't have to be. And I opened it, good action, drop shutty. Now I've heard people complaining about theirs that the screws weren't tight, that the action wasn't too good. This one may have a smidge of blade play side to side, but nothing that would bother me. And you guys know I'm very particular about side to side blade play. However, like I said, very well rounded edge. Because the next thing I did was I picked up Post-it. My friend who gave me the knife was there, and I did a cut. And I said, oh, seems to be okay-ish. And then he said, well, you're kind of helping it out there, aren't you? And I was, because I did cut in a diagonal and I did angle the knife to the paper. If you cut cardboard, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. But if you cut cross grain, then you see it becomes a bit more difficult. Now the knife can cut slice cut, but this is not a sharp knife. Just because you can cut through a piece of paper, especially post-it, does not mean that this is a sharp knife. This is thinner paper, and you can even cut through this one. As for control, for the price that this knife is at, it's kind of dull. Well, it's not kind of dull. It's one of the dullest knives that I've got. I mean, I can press this into my hand. I mean, I wouldn't do this with any of my regular knives, not even work knives like the Elementum, which I kind of, well, I do all sorts of things with this one. But this one didn't take off any skin. The fact that it won't shave is not really an issue. This one, if you press a bit harder, it will take off hairs, but I can do this. As long as I don't press too hard, and I am pressing, I can kind of do this. And yeah, this is an older cut, by the way. It's not bleeding, so it's not from this knife. But yeah, it's not a sharp knife. For the price you get it, that's kind of a shame. Now, looking at the knife, kind of like the design. It's something unlike anything else I've had. The grind is 0.5 millimeters behind the edge. That's not bad. That's about 20 thousandths of an inch thick. Towards the tip, it gets a bit thicker. And the tip, you can see, it's that's a sturdy tip. I wouldn't call this a hard use knife because the scales are probably going to give out. But, you know, I kind of like the design. I'm not this wedge kind of person, but I can appreciate a bit of design and a bit of, hey, maybe some people are going to pry with the tip, and holding it like this does feel very comfortable. I do appreciate the fact that it's not that thick. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sharpen it to about a 15 degree per side edge angle. That's going to take the edge a bit higher, and it might be about 0.6 millimeters behind the edge. That's how much your standard Delica Endura is, which is not bad. At 15 degrees per side, that's an okay cutting edge. But still, you can cut with it. I wish it would have been sharper, because for the price. And somebody assembled it and somebody inspected it. And those people didn't notice the blade wasn't really sharp. As for the edge angle, you guys know how I check my edge angles. Lay the blade flat and then you just drag it until it starts catching. And this would be an okay edge angle. This is then a bit steeper. This would be about 15 degrees. And I'm actually looking at the camera. I can't guesstimate it that well. But this would be a good edge angle. You know, right here, you're about 10 degrees maybe. That would be perfect. Then you raise it up and here you're about at 20. And here we're kind of catching. How much is this? Let me put it on so you guys can see it better, and you can probably measure it, but you can see here it's where it's catching, and that is rather steep. This is one side, and the other side just as steep. What's that? 30, 35 degrees per side. So a very, very steep edge angle. Especially when you get steels like this, a special steel that's supposed to bridge the gap between carbon and stainless, but have great corrosion resistant, you know, great, good, very nice to sharpen, and it will hold an edge. You don't want a very thick grind, and you don't want a very obtuse edge angle. I think that's a shame for the price. Now, for me, I really have no issues with any of these. I appreciate the lightweight. I appreciate the fact that the pocket carry is very, very deep. It's kind of hard to get out of your pocket. I'm just gonna, I have another knife in there, but putting it in here, you can see it disappeared. Getting it out of your pocket, you actually have to pull the clip, because you can't get a good grip on the knife. And if you pinch it like this, it's gonna be very hard. So pulling it by the clip, but it works. Opening it via axis, via the thumb stud, works great. I like the fact that they gave it a nice sharpening choil. And should Magnacut be really that rust resistant, I think it's good that they gave it just partially nested liners. I would have liked G10 more than this particular FRN. I mean, the bug out is a smaller knife, didn't flex that much. This one is a bit bigger. But yeah, overall, I don't mind the color. Not a bright red handle knife kind of guy, but I don't mind the color. I think the knife looks good. It actually looks heavier, looks more stable than it is. You have these ridges here. I wouldn't call it slick. The shape, I would have to do some cutting, and that's what I'm going to do right now for you. I have my cutting board here, and with this edge, let's try and cut up a cardboard box. I'm probably not going to cut up any wood for you guys, because that would just be very difficult to do. I mean, we can't talk about damaging the edge. This is dogwood, and can't really get a decent bite here. I don't feel the knife flexing in hand that much, and I can actually do the chest lever grip, which is not bad. But if you would have to cut into wood with this, okay, this is an EDC knife, and maybe cutting wood is not what you do in your everyday carry knife tasks. But still, I mean, you get a Civivi, just the way you buy it, you can start working with it. You don't have to sharpen it. It has maybe a 20-degree per side edge angle, but it's sharp and it can work wood. And if it can't work wood, it can cut up cardboard. And this is about 4 times as much as this one. I can get 4 elementums for this. And at that point, it doesn't really make sense. But let's do what we did here last time. You know, just going on the edges, that's pretty good. To be honest, to be completely honest, I would have thought there would be more resistance to it. That's just me being completely honest, because the blade is kind of dull. But yeah, no, for how dull the blade is, that 0.1 millimeters that it's missing at the point, at this point right now, 0.5 millimeters behind the edge, that seems to be helping it out. So this would be how many? I don't know, you can count them. You do the counting. Sitting down, not the best position. Well, yeah, it kind of did. And that's not bad. Actually, at this point, it impressed me a bit. I'm sure if it would have been a smaller edge angle and a sharp edge, it would have done much better. I'll find that out probably today or tomorrow. But slicing through this many pieces of cardboard in this very uncomfortable position, it wasn't bad. Now, it's not comfortable in my hand at all. You can see the indentations left on my hand. Not very comfortable, but not bad. there's, I mean, the edge was aggressive enough that you could rip out hairs, not really cut them. But yeah, you can. Now, what I was talking about earlier, if you want to do a really nice cut in a piece of cardboard, you go in a diagonal and you also angle the knife. And this is going to be a breeze. You see? Do a 45-degree cut in a diagonal. If you want to go like this, across grain, this is going to require more strength. And the thinner the blade you have, the sharper it is, the more control you'll have. But this one kind of does an okay job for how dull it is. And you're going to want to compare it with something that's really sharp. That's how easy something that's really sharp does this cut. Cross grain. See, I needed more control, more fingers, more force behind it. But this is sharp. It's not hair popping sharp, it's just sharp. But it has it's very thin behind that 15-degree per side edge angle. This is a bit thicker than that, but it doesn't really have an edge. So yeah, let's finish this so we can throw it away. I do have quite a box stacked up here. So now I'm going in that 45-degree angle to just cut through cardboard. If you're going to work with a knife, you're going to make things easy on yourself. And you can do it. But there's the rub. As soon as the blade gets dull enough, you bunch up the cardboard. And then getting through that is really tough. That's where you're going to have to really bear down on it. And you saw what happened on video. I just have the board and my tripod and my camera here in front of me. So if I'm going to hit that, nothing's going to happen. But if somebody's there, you're going to bunch up the cardboard. You're going to put a lot of force. And if somebody's here not careful of your life bubble or blood bubble, they call it, you might hit somebody. That's lack of control. In this case, not because of a thick grind. The grind is okay. But there's a very obtuse edge angle, which is very dull. You're not going to have it with something like this. Sharp knife, small edge angle, very thin behind the edge. So as long as you're keeping a slicing motion, even if the blade is a bit dull, you're going to be able to cut through it. Now, cut some cardboard. And I can still, I didn't lose edge because there was no edge to lose, in my opinion. And if I were to pick up a strop and try to, this is 1 micron diamond paste. And I'm kind of guesstimating the edge angle that I have on this knife by how I feel the feedback from the leather strop. I would have liked a sharp edge. You know, with some knives, you do get from the factory a very, very good edge. This one was one of those knives. This one came with a very good edge from the factory, and it was amazing. It wasn't the most resistant of edges, but it was a great edge. And that does show you something. Now, really not a big difference. There's no edge here to talk about, so the strap and the cardboard wouldn't have done it. So yeah, guys. This video I made for you guys to, I don't know, get an idea about what you can expect should you decide to buy this knife. A lot of people on YouTube said a lot of similar things. not great fit and finish, not very sharp, and so on and so forth. Personally, I can't wait to sharpen it, and you know, I definitely see this as a nice knife for somebody who wants to have a very lightweight knife. And if you can find G10 handle scales for it, I think, I mean, depending on how much I like the blade, I think I would. I think I would get the G10 handle scales. I got the G10 handle scales for my bug out. It feels like a completely different knife now, but it was an improvement over the FRN. Not that I had a problem with the FRN handle scales on my bug out. I think those were adequate for the size of the knife. This is a bigger knife, and I would have preferred to see G10 here. Yeah, now I do have a bit of blade play. Now I can actually feel a bit of blade play. And from what I heard, haven't disassembled the knife yet, the washers inside here are Teflon. I have no issues with Teflon, but they do wear out much quicker than the bronze phosphorus. And also I've heard that Acta on Verba does sell G10 handle scales and washers. So yeah, if they do, that's a good thing. If they don't, I think for you guys, it's more important to know that. For me, I mean, it's a new model that I've never held in my hand, and that is always interesting to me. No matter what company it made it, whatever, when it's a new model, I'm always curious. And then Magnacut, which I was very curious about, but probably wouldn't have pulled the trigger on Magnacut just yet. They are quite expensive. So, but they do offer it in LMAX, and I think you can find actually some tests with the LMAX blade. Those might be able to tell you more. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a long one, but I thought the knife deserved it. If you want to buy something like this, I would say wait a while. I would say let the ANV guys get the feedback from the YouTubers and let them invest a bit more in their quality control. That would be my suggestion. But yeah, this is a model which you can get in Magnacut right now, so that can be kind of cool. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, let me know and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Once again, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.